Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mulsh Wizards, and today I would like to take you on a journey. A journey that took me a week and a half just to compile, not to mention edit. Recently, I got into a Discord debate with a good friend of mine, Kes Gaming. Kes exclaimed that he didn't believe there was any reason to buy an Xbox and that they were essentially a worse computer with less games. I disagreed. His response was a link to a video he made back on July 24th, 2020 titled, "Why I'm Not Buying an Xbox Series X and Why You Shouldn't Either." Upon watching the video, I was perplexed, and ultimately came to the conclusion that the only mature response would be to make a video of my own to show him why he's wrong. Now, before this video begins, I'd like to make a few key points. Number 1, all information from this video is only true on the day it was published. I don't know when that is, but all the data and numbers I use to support my arguments are subject to change at any time. Number 2, Kes and I are friends. Don't go hate on him or his video because I made a point about something he disagrees with. That's dumb. I've worked with Kes for many years before and was one of his first supporters, so it would be hurting me as well. All in all, just don't be an asshole, alright? Number 3, this may be a longer video than normal. I've left timestamps in the description that will label my arguments in their respective appearance. Although for sake of watch time and understanding all my points, I would really recommend you watch the whole thing. Now, that's taken care of and semantics are laid clear, I invite you to sit back, relax, and most of all, enjoy the video.
You know, I really like tea. So today on July 23rd, 2020, Microsoft did their new Xbox Game Showcase, where they showed off games that are going to be coming out for the Xbox Series X, including some new Microsoft titles such as Halo Infinite, Fable 4, and a couple of other different games, including Hello Neighbor 2, which is the one I'm personally kind of excited for. Now, in today's video, I'm going to tell you guys why I'm not going to buy an Xbox Series X and why you guys shouldn't either. And it actually comes down to one main, very simple reason, which is all Xbox games are on PC. That's it. That's the whole reason. I could end the video right here, but I'm not going to because I'm going to go into more detail. Back in 2016, Microsoft unveiled their Xbox Play Anywhere program. What does this program do? Well, when you buy a first-party title from Microsoft, be it Halo, Forza, Gears of War, whatever, you will own a copy for both the Xbox and for Windows 10. Now, to tie in with that, all first-party versions of the game now have a Windows 10 version via the Microsoft Store on Windows 10. Now, fast forward a couple of years, and they started putting those same games onto Steam. You know, of Halo the Master Chief Collection on Steam. You have Quantum Break, Recore, several games. Forza, not so much, but the other ones, they're on there. Now, what this means is there are really no first-party Xbox exclusives anymore, or third-party ones for that matter, because Microsoft is really not interested in getting exclusives put on its console.
One of Kes's first points is in regards to the Xbox Game Pass and its introduction to PC. Now, I will agree that Game Pass certainly has its flaws with only including certain titles or practically monopolizing the market with what games do or do not feature. But I can say with 100% certainty that Xbox Game Pass is one of the best innovations to consoles ever to be released. Not only is it affordable, but as of today, it includes over 450 games and tons of different developers. Kes's critique on the matter is with Microsoft's Play Anywhere program they set up for Game Pass Ultimate, which, in layman's terms, just means that most of the first-party releases from Xbox would be playable not only on Xbox, but also Windows 10 for no additional cost. Kes, however, states that most of the games are now being ported to Steam, including the Master Chief Collection, Recore, Forza, and others. That being said, I think Kes is missing a very key point here. All of these games are being sold for retail price. The Master Chief Collection is being sold for $39.99, Recore is being sold for $19.99, and Forza 5 is being sold for a whopping $59.99. Altogether, these games would cost you $119.97 when they're not on sale. Now, the question still remains, how much would it cost for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which includes more games and has benefits on Xbox? With your first month, $1. For the rest of the year, $14.99 per month. This comes out to a total of $165.89. It's even less if you purchase the 3-month plan, coming out at just under $100. If you're really frugal, you can save even more by picking up cheap 3-month Game Pass codes when they go on sale. Now, you may say, well, that costs a lot more than the games you just listed. And you're right, it is more. But you forget that it also includes Xbox Live, 450 plus games, a cancelable subscription at any time, and almost all of the games are on PC as well. All in all, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with all the games included and the Xbox Live subscription will save you, put together into one, $10,145.24. Even without Microsoft titles, it's still $8,320.87. That is insane. That's not even taking into account that if you only want them for PC, you can have all the games for $9.99 a month. To say that Game Pass is not worth the price or that it's obsolete now because they're porting the games out to Steam is simply ludicrous.
Now, at this point in time, there's no reason to own an Xbox One either. It basically has 2 exclusives on it, Halo 5 and Forza Motorsport 5. And while I can't speak for Forza Motorsport 5, I'm calling it right now, Halo 5 is going to come to PC. It only makes sense. They have the Halo Master Chief Collection on PC via Steam. Halo Infinite will be on Windows 10 as well, and probably also on Steam. So why would they just have one game in the series that's exclusive to the console?
Kes made it very clear that there was no reason to get an Xbox, as it only had a handful of exclusives. Now, from my perspective, I think exclusives are dumb as hell, and games shouldn't be locked by any specific platform. I'm looking at you, Nintendo. But the exclusives that are coming to Xbox are pretty much staying on Xbox. Halo 5, for instance, will not be ported over to PC, and as far as I know, neither will Halo 4. But don't quote me on that one. This has nothing to do with Microsoft not wanting to release them, but has more to do with it being a waste of time to spend on a dying franchise. The argument, well, there's no reason to get an Xbox because there's no exclusives, is just silly, because in general, AAA games are almost always on the different platforms, including Switch. The device with the most exclusives obviously being PC, and there's no good way to work around that other than to get a PC, and some people just don't have that luxury. Almost all of the top games within the last 3 years have been ported to console, and that's just a fact.
Back to my original point of the video, there is no reason to get an Xbox Series X when you can get a PC that will have every single game on it that's on the Xbox. There's so many advantages to having a PC over an Xbox. For one, it's going to be cheaper in the long run.
So, when this video was made, the Xbox Series X price had not yet been announced. Its retail price today is $499. For sake of argument, I'm setting aside shortages and bundles because both arguments could be made for both sides, but I digress. As I was saying, the Xbox comes in at $500 and includes a custom AMD Zen 2 architecture with both 8 cores running at 3.8 GHz. The CPU is a 12 teraflop RDNA 2-class custom chip. This will allow you to play any game, not only at 4K and 60 FPS, but allows developers to scale up to 120 FPS. The Series X also introduced the hardware-accelerated DirectX ray tracing, which basically simulates the sound and light movement in real time. For reference, I spent an hour looking for anything even close to this for $500, and there was nothing for that price. As far as custom builds are concerned, I spoke to several professionals on the topic, including a software developer, who all said you'd be hard-pressed to find a good graphics card alone that doesn't take up most of that budget. The other side to this is in regards to Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Live. But with what I said earlier, we know that that isn't even a question on affordability. $14.99 a month or less is a demonstrable increase in affordability to spending equally as much to upgrade one part for a PC. That doesn't even take into account the cost of games.
For 2, you can use any controller you want or a mouse and keyboard.
This is false on so many levels. While you can connect a controller, there are so many games that do not support them. I couldn't plug in my controller and boot up League of Legends and hope to use it. There are a huge list of games that do not support this idea.
3, you don't have to pay for Xbox Live Gold. You have multiplayer access for free, which goes back around to what I was saying about it being cheaper over the long run. And you get access to all of these games, as well as a lot of third-party games that aren't on Xbox. And you get access to games that Sony has put on PC, but of course will not dare put on Xbox.
Kes did make a few good points here by saying not only will you be able to find more third-party games on PC, but you can also find the Sony exclusives they've published there. This is 100% true. There's no chance that Sony will be putting their games on Xbox, and there are plenty of smaller games that don't feature on console. The second good point was the lack of Xbox Live necessity. Yes, you can play PC for free with an internet connection, and it sucks you can't do that on Xbox. But as previously stated, there are some really good things to come out of it.
And add insult to injury, not only is Xbox Live Gold not needed on PC, but Game Pass is actually cheaper on PC.
Nope, same price. This was a temporary thing and has since been changed to include Game Pass for $9.99. Ultimates for $14.99. It's the same on PC.
The Xbox showcase did not convince me to buy an Xbox Series X because I can play all these games on PC. A lot of these games looked really cool and I would love to play them, but I want to play them on my PC.
A few weeks after this video went live, Kes made a response video to the comments he got on that video. I apologize for the background gameplay in this one. For some reason, he's playing Scooby-Doo. It makes me uncomfortable too. Don't worry, you're not alone there.
You know, I really like tea. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome today to a compilation of Xbox fanboys roasting me. Yes, you heard that right, guys. I made a video about a month ago called Why I'm Not Buying an Xbox Series X and Why You Shouldn't Either. So this first fine fellow says, look, unless you want to buy me a gaming PC and some of my good friends one too, then I ain't switching to PC. I'd rather just not save up for 4 years just to get a PC that I'm going to have to spend more money on in the future. I'm broke. Well, buddy, I hate to break it to you, but I got some bad news. If you're broke, then you're not going to be able to afford a gaming machine at all, PC or console. I mean, a new console is not cheap. People are saying, and you know, take this with a grain of salt, but people are saying that the next generation Xbox is going to be $500 to $600. Plus, you got to drop $60 to play multiplayer with your friends that you were talking about. And what do you mean by spending more money on in the future? Spend money for what? More games? Again, you're going to do that with any platform ever. But hey, at least on PC, you can play multiplayer for free. You're not locked behind a $60 a year paywall to play with your buds. Oh, no, wait, that's right. It's $100 a year now because Microsoft is no longer selling 12-month subscriptions and only selling 3-month ones at $25 for 3 months. If you're willing to drop $500 to $600 on a new console and $100 just to play your own games multiplayer, then you are not broke enough to not afford a PC. You can afford a beast of a PC at that price.
You serious?
You know how much my PC was? $800, and it crushes the current gen consoles. And 3 years later, I'm still going strong, baby.
You can still get the 12-month subscription to Xbox Live for only $30. That hasn't changed. Or at least you can certainly still buy the redeemable cards for it. As far as the whole, what are you gonna do, buy games thing? Not only would you have to pay more on PC for games digitally, but on Xbox you can get aftermarket games for cheaper, and you can get games from Game Pass Ultimate that includes gold. So this is a rather moot point. Thirdly, you cannot get a beast of a computer for $500. You can get a subpar PC that does its job. Different things. For your computer, while yes, after 2 years it would cost the same as getting an Xbox, this doesn't include the fact that you still have to purchase all the games and have a general understanding of a PC as a whole. They are not equatable.
Or maybe some people just can't afford a $3,500 or $4,500 PC, which is what you will need to have to play most new games. Yeah, guys, we're absolute idiots over here dropping enough money to buy a very nice used car on a gaming PC, which is required to run games. Not even run them well, it's just required to play most new games.
I get the satirical value of that, but in all seriousness, dropping upwards of $1,000 on a good PC is not uncommon. A 3090 on its own is $1,500.
At the end of the day, if you play on Xbox, I don't care. Play on whatever you want to. There's really no point in doing so when you could do the exact same thing on a PC, but if that's what your preference is, fine, whatever. Make your own purchasing decisions. But why on earth are you getting mad when somebody else says, hey, there's this other platform you could use that has the same games for about the same price point, but you get access to even more titles and better features for it? I feel like it's only the gaming world where this would exist, because can you imagine somebody buying a car and then somebody else, or talking about buying a car, and then somebody else comes up to you and says, hey, there's this other brand of car you could get for about the same price, but it has more features and more options available to you. And, you don't have to do certain things to maintain it as often, and just all these other little perks. I mean, I would think that most people would be kind of grateful to have that information and would look more into it. But when it comes to a gaming system, oh no, how dare you insult the thing that they are thinking about buying? I mean, their last vehicle was this brand, and gosh darn it, they're not changing anything.
The IP of a system, franchise, company, or game is everything. If you want someone to buy something and it's made by a brand that is well known and well trusted, they're probably going to go with that option. PC has things like this for Corsair, Nvidia, etc. Just because something is generally popular doesn't mean it's inherently bad.
Well, this fine fellow actually made another comment later down, and he says, not all console gamers have a PC, or decent enough PC to run those games. Some console gamers do not even play PC games, so this kind of makes your point invalid. Yeah, I mean, he's right. I mean, my whole point was that all the Xbox games are on PC, and a PC is a better system because it gives you more options and greater freedom to decide how you want to play your games. But since people don't play just PC only games, I guess, then that just makes the point invalid because reasons. And I basically point out as much to him that was what my point was originally. And so then he goes on to say that not everyone is a PC gamer or interested in playing on the PC. The console market is a huge market and has been for generations, which I, again, don't get the point at all. So what if a console market is huge or has been for generations? What difference does that make in what your better purchasing decision is now? But regardless, moving on, he then says there's a huge amount of people who are just console gamers. I never said otherwise, but okay. And the Series X will be the most powerful console in the world. People thinking that games will instantly look amazing straight away should really loom at past generations. It will take a few years before we start seeing what this console can do, but straight from the box, it will be 4K, and most games will be 60 FPS or more. He then links me an article basically saying that the cost of building a gaming PC is going to be a lot more than $500. One that has similar specs to the Xbox Series X anyway.
As previously stated, the Xbox has better specs than that of a similarly built PC within the price range.
There's already a couple of problems with this, one being that we don't know the price is going to be $500 yet because Microsoft hasn't said as much. That's just speculation. And we don't know what hardware is in it because it hasn't shipped the box yet. And I went ahead and checked out the article. It was on trustedreviews.com, and it is an absolute garbage pile of an article. They're saying they're putting a PC build up against the Xbox Series X, and they put in a Ryzen 7 3700X processor. They put in 16 gigabytes of RAM, and they put in an RTX 2080 Super. There's people that think that an Xbox Series X is going to have anything near these types of specs. A $300 CPU and a $700 GPU.
The Xbox does have these amazing specs.
We see this whole thing every single generation. This console is going to be something that's going to completely wipe out the PC. We saw it with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. We saw it with the PlayStation 4 Pro. We saw it with the Xbox X, and now we're seeing it with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X.
Although I don't think the Xbox has wiped out the PC market, it has definitely changed the game for consoles. The quality of these generational consoles is truly amazing. For the price and knowledge required, it is a really good gaming rig.
So we go back and forth for a little bit while longer, and every single comment, he says that the Xbox Series X will hit 4K 60, and then I go on to explain how he cannot know that because of all these different factors. But every single comment, he just repeats the same line. In most cases, there is no reason why games will not hit 4K 60 FPS. Xbox One X had no problem doing this. Well, that's not true. Have you heard about checkerboard upscaling? Have you heard about Destiny's 2 30 FPS? For that matter, have you heard that the newest Assassin's Creed game is going to be 30 FPS on the Series X? Valhalla? Does that possibly ring a bell? And I wouldn't exactly call Assassin's Creed a game that's known for groundbreaking new graphics technology or anything.
Yeah, this was an issue on launch and beforehand, but it has since been fixed. Now almost all games are running at expected speeds and frame rates.
The next comment, what we know about the hardware, 60 FPS 4K will not be a problem. Well, that's the problem, is you don't know anything about the hardware. And then the third comment, the Series X will clearly hit 60 plus 4K, even if it's upscaled 4K. Well, there's a pretty stark difference between upscaled 4K and native 4K.
The Xbox supports native 4K for games that have been changed to better fit the console, but will otherwise upscale. Most games from the Xbox One will eventually all be able to run to native 4K when they are updated, and all plans still point towards they will be. This is just about the end of the videos from Kes. I highly recommend you go watch them for yourself and show the man some love. I mean, we all have a few bad takes once in a while. Either way, I felt it would be appropriate to address what I think would be some counter-arguments to my statements, because I know what people are going to say, and I'll just get through it. Just because Game Pass has 450 plus games doesn't mean everyone's going to play them. This is true. There are some games on there that are absolute trash. I mean, really bad. There are a number of games that not only don't stand the test of time, but for a while there, games wouldn't even boot up correctly. That being said, I think you're missing my point. I'm not arguing that all the games people would want to play. I'm saying that for the bang for your buck, paying that amount of money per month for that many games, and more soon to come now that Microsoft is continuing to buy companies, there's absolutely a reason to get involved. What about games that aren't on Xbox? This is the point I can think of that is the best. There are many fantastic games that are only available on PC that are widely known to be some of the best games out there. That being said, I stated earlier that most best-selling AAA games do come out on Xbox and the subsequent consoles. I mean, there's no way to port something like World of Warcraft or Valorant because of the limitations of the controller and overall design, and target audience for that matter. What about PlayStation? PlayStation is also good. They have similar issues to Xbox, worse graphics overall, and a smaller catalog of their games in PlayStation Plus, but they definitely have some amazing things going for them. For one, exclusives. PlayStation undeniably has some of the best exclusive games, including the new Spider-Man, The Last of Us, etc. They also have a nicer design in my opinion, but I guess that's all preference. All in all, I believe that the Xbox Series S and X have their place among the big dogs. They are consoles that stand the test of time, affordability, performance, and most of all, accessibility. The Xbox is not free of flaws, but it is, in my opinion, the best console on the market and a fantastic rig for people who just want to relax and play some games. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please like and subscribe. Big shout out to Kes Gaming for being a good sport about all this and allowing me to use his footage in today's video. I appreciate all of you watching and hope to see you in the next one. Peace.